We're back for another edition of the Twin Cities Real Estate Pros podcast. I'm Ron Johnson with RE/MAX Advantage Plus, joined as always by David Nelson, also with RE/MAX Advantage Plus. Today we're going to go with 3 real estate agents, so I hope people can deal with that all at the same time. Chris Mosier, another one of our team members here with RE/MAX Advantage Plus. Also, we're all on the Imperial Home Team. We're going to talk about what Chris has coming up on the market. We'll kind of get in the market in general, and also go through the buying process with clients, what you need to do initially to get ready from the first time we meet with you, some of the things to expect throughout the process, from looking at houses, making offers, what happens through the offer process, then once the offer is accepted, what happens to then, and how you finally get your keys. Does that sound good to you?
Hey, that sounds fantastic.
Okay, so you hear enough from David and I, so we're going to bring in Chris who's joining us for the first time.
No pressure.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah, so thanks for coming by, Chris.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. Before we get too much into it, with some particulars, people who are big fans of YouTube, particularly the Imperial Home Team .tv, probably have seen you before around Halloween time. So talk about that little project that you had.
Well, thanks for bringing that up. That was actually probably the most fun I've ever had trying to sell a house. So I had a listing that came on literally 2 weeks before Halloween. We had some good traction, and it just happened to be that the Saturday I wanted to hold the open house was Halloween, and I started thinking, all right, so what can I do to help stand out for my clients? And I actually, had a background here in Lakeville. I was the Phantom of the Opera back in high school. I'm not telling you what year. So I figured, what can I do to take that acting background, that presence, that passion for the market, and capture more attention? So I actually started brainstorming, and I came up with an idea to do kind of like a found footage Blair Witch style video with just the single, camera in front of me on my phone, and then used it in kind of a mockumentary way to go throughout the property and pretend that I was terrified and scared, but really was highlighting the property itself and then advertising the open house. And then David, with his technical prowess, was able to put it together to music along with a theme that made it look like it was literally something out of like a scary movie trailer. Response was overwhelming. I mean, real estate agents don't really think of going viral, but in the first 36 hours, I had 13,000 views on it. Wow. The property sold within the next 4 days after that. So very, very effective. I've already started trying to think of other ways I can kind of capture that to be professional, but just to keep it more interesting for the clients, keep it interesting for buyers. People are so inundated with just these blanket expression, hi, here's my house, it has this many square feet and an open ceiling. And
a must-see.
A must-see, yes.
This will sell quick.
Our vocabulary is very limited.
A++++++++.
Exactly. So I plan on using that as a benchmark for future videos, future marketing efforts, to be more engaging both for the buyer and the sell side, so that it's just a little bit more outside the ordinary.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point, because let's be honest, real estate agents are generally fit in a box, and they do things a little differently, but homes can as well, right? If you've got the house that you're selling versus the other couple that were built by the same builder around the same time that are for sale in the same price range, what makes yours any different? And for you, the difference was marketing it a lot differently than anybody else was marketing their home.
Mm-hmm. For sure. That was actually a townhome, and not even an end unit, in an area where there was an end unit for sale and 2 others, and ours sold first for top dollar. So you're absolutely right. How you present it is 1,000 times more important than just the fact it exists in the right neighborhood.
Right, and here's the price, and there's 3 bedrooms.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
And really, a big part of our job as real estate agents is to get as many eyes on the property as possible. The old way of, printing it on the newspaper and putting a sign in the yard, it doesn't work anymore. Right. Really, I mean, so our job is to, yes, make it look good and present it in a way, but then how many people can we get this to see? And so with Chris's video, it was fun to watch his viewer clicks go up, and people were emailing, hey, who is that? I'm like, it's Chris. He did a fantastic job. And if you want to see that video, it's still on our YouTube channel, ImperialHomeTeam.tv. It's on our Facebook page. So, yeah, it's still clicking away. So, guess what? It'll be popular in October again.
Oh, can't wait. Can't wait. Yeah, so Halloween videos are the low-hanging fruit. There you go. Could definitely do those.
Well, you've got a new listing coming on, and obviously President's Day is coming up, yes. So I expect dead president's masks for this one.
I mean, that seems appropriate, and maybe just have some sort of reference to Dead Presidents Society. I mean, there's a number of little things we can do with it. So,
yeah. But no, in all seriousness, tell us what you've got coming up.
Well, realistically, I've got two. Probably my newest is 2172 Water Lily Lane. It is a middle unit townhome in Egan near Diffley. Very well maintained property. I've had the same owner in there for over 13 years. They've taken impeccable care of it. Open design, both in the kitchen, the living room, and especially in the bedrooms. We're looking at a 2-bedroom, 3-bath, all for just $155. So
wow.
Especially for that zip code, it's a pretty impeccable find. There is next to no inventory that stays on the market there. So I mean, the last one that we had in that neighborhood sold in the first week. So I'm doing a little bit what I can, especially with Imperial Home Team. It is available on our Zillow coming soon page, and it is available for pre-list showings. But this one, again, we talk about the redundant vocabulary we have. So forgive me for saying this one won't last. I truly expect it to go very quickly.
It's always my favorite. Like, you're looking at a listing, you're seeing sometimes agents don't usually update the notes, and they'll say this one will go quickly. Days on market 200.
Yeah.
Well, I guess quickly is relative term.
Well, I mean, if you live to be 90 years old and it sells in a year, that's pretty quick.
That is.
So,
That's true.
And you know, the length of the universe, you know,
Yes.
10 years is very quick.
Yes.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, relevant.
But I'm very excited about that one. I then also have a very unique property in Edina. I have a 4-bedroom, 4-bath, 3,200 square foot, 1.5 story that is set just blocks from Lake Cornelia, Highway 62, Highway 100, and it's actually on 1/3 of an acre with a heated pool, all for only $465. To really find something with that much square footage and those kind of amenities, even anywhere under the $500,000 range in Edina, is absolutely unheard of. So it's definitely a one-of-a-kind property. We've got a lower-level master bedroom in the basement, which is 17 by 16. The property itself was actually built in 1937. So you've got a really unique old school charm with a lot of like the original molding, hardwood floors, just these really time classic features throughout. But then somewhere in the 70s, we've been unable to locate accurate historical records. The property itself was actually moved to the physical location that it's at. Foundation was laid and the actual basement was filled out. So you've got this property that if you were to compare to another 30s style home, it doesn't have, you know, a 30s foundation or structure. Not to mention, it's got this vastly updated, renovated basement with a dry bar that just is second to none for what it actually offers you. So also very unique. That will be coming on here probably in the early spring. But again, we like to do things a little differently here, and there really is no off season. So that is also available on the coming soon feature, and I've had a couple people reach out even the last week. So with that spring market coming on, if you want to be ahead of the schedule, this is really how it's done.
And I've been in that Edina house too.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. I mean, the basement is a walkout, so you walk out right from the wet bar,
Yep.
right out to the pool.
It's a perfect for entertaining, nice in the summer, all those things.
Hands down,
great.
hands down. Tile flooring near the bar, walks out to a deck and then to the actual patio. They've got some beautiful landscaping along with like an infinity fountain that comes down. I mean, and everything's built around the privacy fence, the landscaping of the rocks and the boulders, and this pool. And it's just, whether you're using the pool or not, to have the ability to just constantly entertain, present, relax in your own private space is pretty fantastic given where you're located. Edina is not usually thought of as spacious, so to have that in that location is pretty fantastic.
All right, so the voice you're hearing is Chris Mosier, a real estate agent here with us at RE/MAX Advantage Plus. So that's the listings you've got coming on.
Yes.
This just in, inventory is really low.
What?
So,
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, so if you've got any buyers out there
Sure you do.
who are having a hard time, do you have any buyers out there right now really struggling maybe to find that perfect house that perhaps someone listening or watching this may have?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I've been very blessed. We've gotten a couple of contracts pushed through recently, but I'm currently looking for any single family inventory in Rosemount that's going to be 2010 or younger, that is going to be in the 3 to 350 range. Additionally, I'm still trying to find inventory in Apple Valley for townhomes under 200, and anything in the South Metro, single family, that's a decent buy with some amount of updates under 255. I mean, I've just continued, as I'm sure you gentlemen have, watched as prices go up, values go up, and things go off the market almost faster than you can. So a lot of these a lot of these efforts of the pre-list is the name of the game. It's really the only extra tool you've got sometimes to avoid a multiple offer situation, if at all possible.
And also, if you're representing the buyer, to be able to seek out those
Yes.
pre-listings as well, helps you get in
exactly.
there too.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit more, David, about kind of the process before you get to see that pre-listed house from the buyer standpoint.
Sure.
What are some of the things you like to do? I come in and say, hey, David, I want to buy a house. What happens?
You go buy a house.
I just go buy one?
Yeah,
Boom.
I trust everything you tell me.
There you go.
Said no one.
Right.
The biggest thing is, in today's market, you got to be able to afford the house. So looking at homes is kind of the fun part.
Mm-hmm.
So of course everyone wants to go look at houses. But what we're finding out is it is a seller's market. Homes sell quickly. So really the ultimate very first step is when you contact us is we're going to make sure you're connected to a really trusted lender. We've got some great ones we work with. So previous podcasts we talked about pre-approval and pre-qualification. Pre-qualification, you can do that online, takes you 5 minutes, you can lie, whatever. But a pre-approval is, it's going to hold its weight in water. So the biggest thing is step one is you got to talk to a lender, get pre-approved, get your finances in order, because then when you do go look at houses, you're not wasting your time. You can actually buy that house. Maybe you can afford a house that's more than you think you can afford. Or maybe you're looking at homes that you can't really afford, and it's, so you kind of, so ultimately that's my first step, and I don't know what you guys do, but that's kind of where I look at.
Yeah, and that's a good point, though, about in all seriousness, about not being able to afford that, because people love to look online. We see that on our website. People are clicking at houses, and they're looking at, whatever, doesn't matter the price range, $350, right? And then they come and sit down, they're like, yeah, I want to buy a $350,000 house, blah, 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 and they've been spending all this time online. Then they go talk to a lender, and they actually can only afford $275. And that's kind of probably a shot in the gut to some people, especially since they spent so much time looking online, falling in love with these homes. So sitting down with actual people that can help you find out exactly what you can afford, it can save you not only some time, but also some emotional stress as well.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic point, Ron. I actually tell all my buyer clients that we have to get pre-approved first before we go out. Because to me, I tell them that it's two parts. It's emotional first, psychological second. When you go into a new home, you're looking to find an energetic space that you have some sort of connection with, that you have an emotional attachment to, that moves you to say, I want to make this mine, and I want to find a way to move forward. Then once that's complete, then it comes the psychology of what are the motivation, what's the price, under what terms, and how do we navigate this to get a fair market value for both you and the seller. But the problem is, if you're taking them to a house they fall in love with that they then realize on the back end they can't have, that is very, very hard to take. In fact, it can be enough that in some cases that's the end of the home buying process for that buyer for an indefinite period of time. So I always try to make sure I make it abundantly clear we'd rather avoid the heartache up front, make you get all your ducks in a row first, then you can fall in love with whatever you want. And that's really how it has to be.
Yeah, and the education piece is really big. Me personally, I bought two houses in my life. I bought my first house in 2005, and then I bought my second house in 2013. You could imagine, and I still own the 2005 house. I wasn't a real estate agent at that point, but anyway, you can imagine the difference in the experience of buying a house in 2005 versus buying it in 2013. Not just because that's a long time between and you forget stuff, but the difference in the market. So whether you're a first-time home buyer or somebody buying your second, third, or fourth house, it's really important to understand how the process works and in the current market and things that have changed.
And I think even on the flip side is some people come up and they're like, I can't afford a house, I can't buy a house. Well, let's talk to a lender, because maybe you can. Maybe somebody thinks their credit score is horrible or something, but there's a lot of great programs out there that may not be, any money down, or there's some rural development programs. So even though you think that you can't afford something, you possibly could. So again, talk to a lender. We'll gladly get you in contact with some great people that are, it doesn't cost you anything. It's free. They'll sit down with you, go through your finances, and if nothing else, if you can't buy a house today, maybe they'll help you get into a house next month, next year, but they'll organize your life that you can be financially ready for a house.
Yeah, I was showing one of my listings, I think last spring or summer, and the guy was like, well, I like the house, but I'm not interested right now until maybe next year. And I said, that's fine, because I plan on being in business next year. So I don't know if you guys where people are like, oh, I don't want to waste your time, or these kind of things, but you got no problem keeping in touch with somebody, kind of letting them know market updates, what's available out there. So whether you're not ready now and you want to buy next year, next season, or whatever, we can still talk to you now and help get you on that path.
Yeah, again, it comes down to education. You know, it's the old G.I. Joe. The more you know. Knowing is half the battle.
Yeah, the more you know, I think was Deke. It was those little like
NBC,
stars
and-
shot
and-
across the
NBC,
screen.
NBC,
Yeah,
yeah.
Saturday morning
Yeah.
commercials.
So maybe I'll put a little logo.
Yeah.
The more you know. But yeah,
Just your
knowing
face.
G.I. Joe was knowing is half the battle.
This is true.
There you go. I have a T-shirt.
There you go.
So going in with that frame of mind is you're going in with a head of steam, with knowledge that a lot of buyers don't have. So again, it comes down to it. If you're coming in prepared, you got your ducks in a row, you're going to be in a very strong position to possibly buy your dream home, not have to deal with multiple offers. You know, maybe you're pre-approved and ready to go, and we've got a pre-listing that you want to look at. You know, sellers aren't going to look at anybody's offer if you're not pre-approved. So again, it goes back to step one: talk to a lender, get pre-approved.
And one thing, and I'm sure you guys do something very similar, but I have a buyer guide that I create that I can either bring in hard copy or email out to my buyers that basically steps through the pre-approval process, initial consultation, home search setup, how to make an offer, all the details that go into making an offer, which is much more than just how much do you think the seller will take.
What?
Yeah, there's a lot of other details in there. The inspection, the appraisal, and what the title company is, and then how you finally get the keys. So really there is so much in there that's important for people to know on the front end versus looking online and say, hey, I like this house, let's go see it. Because you see it and you like it, uh-oh, now what happens? Because the next buyer, they've got all their things in order and they know what to do and they're going to get that house before you. So really on the front end, as much information as we can provide to the buyers will help them ultimately get into that house.
Yeah, and what I've done too is on our video channel, imperialhometeam.tv, is I've created a 7-step video series. I like technology, so you know it breaks down from step 1 to talking to a lender to step 7 is the closing. So again, that's a great way of kind of learning a little bit more about the process. Again, education, knowledge is power.
Yeah,
and I like cliches.
And I'm not sure if you guys do it. When I'll get an email or a call from a guy that says, I like 123 Main Street. I see it's listed at this. Do you think they'll take this? I'm like, well, let's look at the market analysis first and go see the house, right? And market analysis is not a word that I think just regular people use necessarily and understand how you determine the value. Theoretically, the listing agent did the same research.
You would hope.
You would hope so. And then whether the seller agrees with it or not, but that price came from somewhere, right? They didn't just kind of create it. And as you, as the buyers representing the buyer, you also have to find what that reasonable price point is before you can just say, oh, sure, I think they'll take this. So it takes a lot of effort to kind of come up with that fair market value, not only to see what the seller will take, because sometimes it matters not at all what the seller will take. It matters what the other buyer is willing to pay for it, because you have to jockey out that other buyer.
And that's really the true market value, is what someone's willing to pay for it.
Right.
Case in point, eBay, Craigslist, you put something on, it doesn't sell, you lower the price, and then it does sell. Same thing with the market. None of us three dictate the price of a house. If that was the case, every house I would sell would be $100 million.
At a minimum.
At a minimum.
I'd sell one a year.
See, I do $9.99.
Chill. Yeah.
Ooh.
See, that's why it doesn't work, because you're already undercutting us.
Right,
Easy, Walmart.
Volume deal.
Hi, I'm Ron Johnson. Discount.
$9.99 for any house.
But if you act,
I know
but if
it'll
you act
appraise.
now,
Yeah.
if you act now.
well, of course.
Yeah, have good luck having your $1 million house as appraised when it's only $9.99.
Well,
Yeah.
And that's also another important part of the process too. Is let's say there is a house out there and your buyer is basically willing to pay whatever for it. You do also have to be realistic when it comes to the appraisal, because you're gonna, by that point, by the time the house gets appraised, you had paid for the inspection, so you're out, $350 to $500 depending, and then you're also out the cost of the appraisal, so you're almost about $1,000 in to find out that your house didn't appraise. And maybe this, you have some options there. The seller can come down. You can bring cash to closing, which is my opinion an awful idea, because you're already getting into a negative equity situation. Or you can renegotiate. But so you really do have to be realistic on both sides, because the appraisal, which is a big part, can kill a deal.
Sure. And go ahead.
No, I would say ideally, I hate it when the appraisal comes right on the money of the agreed offer price. Because okay, then what happens if the market doesn't continue to be as fortuitous as it is right now with increased values? Where are they going to be in 2, 3, 5 years? So I think part of that education piece we talked about is up front understanding, okay, here's fair market value. It's going to be whatever X is. And hopefully that's within an acceptable range of the price you're going to offer and the final agreed upon price. But then you also want to always ask, okay, so Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, how long are you going to be in this house? Is this your starter home? Is this a rental? Is this your forever home? The average really hasn't changed. Your average first-time home buyer is only in there for 5 to 7 years. So if I have you coming in at a price where you're right on the top of the market, and I know you're going to sell somewhere in the next 3 to 5 or 3 to 6, there's a very strong chance that even if things stay where they're at, you're barely going to break even or have to bring cash to close. Which again is not the worst case when you have to turn around and resell, but ideally we want to be able to put our clients in some sort of position where there's even just a 2% return on investment. Unless you're buying as an investor, under specific terms as an investor, I don't necessarily pitch that a home is immediately a return. But I do want to at least put you in a place where you're not losing money, and all of that has to factor into what we provide for them up front.
In particular, if you're living in your primary residence as your home, you want to be comfortable, and you can't always be thinking, okay, geez, am I going to make this money back if I do this? You know, so you have to have those conversations. If you redo the bathroom, are you going to make the money, or do you want a really nice bathroom that you're going to live in for a while?
And kind of going back to your appraisal, I mean, right now what I'm seeing is they come in either at or like $1,000 over.
Yeah, that's it.
And really, what the appraisers are doing now, they're really just making sure you're getting the value of the home is worth the loan, you know. And so I don't put a lot of weight in the appraisals anymore, just because it's just the lender has the appraisal come out, and they just want to make sure the house is worth what they're getting a loan for.
Yeah, and it's one person's opinion who's working that day.
And they could walk into your house and like, oh, son of a biscuit, another townhouse, blah blah blah, and they're gonna.
I hate the smell of cookies.
I know, it's like
5% less than the comps.
You know, and I've walked into houses where, you know, the appraiser walks in like, oh my God, I love wildlife. Well, oh, sweet, that's gonna appraise. You know, there's no algorithm that's designed. It's still human nature, and you know, and you just never know, but. The appraisers, that's the kind of the final step of the process. Once that's appraised, on to closing.
Yeah, assuming your financing stays together and some other things happen, then you're all good.
Right.
But yeah, I guess we kind of skipped ahead a little bit.
Just a tad.
But like, so on the offer, and I mentioned this, there's more than just what do you think the guy will take, right? It's your purchase price, earnest money, which people have varying opinions on whether what the value is there in the earnest money, but how much you're going to do, when you can close. Also, your financing, you know, what type of financing you're getting. Some people will look at the particular lender and be adverse to one other lender, or maybe be comfortable with a lender.
Right.
Your written commitment date, which goes back to the financing. So there's a variety of different things within the offer other than just the price that needs to be considered, particularly in a competitive situation.
Yeah, even walking through the house, I mean, as they say, everything's negotiable. You know, there's that pool table that the sellers want to keep, but you want, well, that could be part of the negotiation process. So really anything is negotiable at some point, like it or not.
Right, yeah, and that's just another, I guess, education piece that's important to go over with the buyers. And also, I guess, how the seller is going to view, seller paid closing costs is something I didn't mention. So how the buyer or the seller is going to view your offer. So if you're somebody, you want to get it for 95% of list price and they'll ask for another 3% in closing costs, well, your seller is going to look at that as a way reduced offer, and so that's always something to consider as well. Which I guess we have to do a good job communicating that to the buyers and also understand the lender what closing costs would be and the other details of an offer.
And that's kind of one thing we do as a team is we have a really good core team, also good resources. So we're always communicating on a regular basis with the title company, with the lenders, with the inspectors, the appraisers. So at all times we pretty much know what's going on, and it's great at closing when your buyers say, "Wow, that was easy." That's our job. We don't want them to feel the stressors. And before we get too far along, I want to remind everybody.
We only have 5 minutes left, so we're not getting much further.
Oh man, I'll talk.
Before we wrap up, David would like to remind everyone.
That's right. We work for buyers for free. Yeah. And it floors me is why wouldn't you not? How much bad language can I have? Why wouldn't you buy a house with a real estate agent?
Right.
It doesn't cost you anything. We work for you for free, but at the same time, you're getting our market knowledge, our opinion, our negotiation skills, our ability to probably get you a better deal. And then if you're trying to go out there and do it at yourself, going rogue, going willy-nilly, why not work with somebody that's going to do a great job? And not every agent's created equal, and that's why I think you should work with us. I mean, again, we're we'll do an amazing job for you.
And on the other side of that, chances are the seller, in most cases, has somebody working for them.
Oh, of course.
Right. And I'd like to speak to the psychology of that for a minute, because I know I've discussed with both of you gentlemen at length that, especially in new construction, we use as an example, there's this lure to buyers who are like, oh, I don't want to be sold to by a real estate agent, so I'll just go talk to the builder directly. Well, the person sitting in that construction area is a salesperson waiting to take your business. And oftentimes they'll talk about, hey, if you just sign with us directly, we'll throw in like a free basement, or there's always this perception of I'm getting a discount because I'm cutting out the middleman. Well, the problem is whatever percentage commission that was already factored in the overall value of that price, you're not getting that off the overall value and the overall price you're offering. And that free basement, guess what? They know down to the last nail they're putting into that place exactly how much it costs. That was already factored in. It doesn't cost them additional. And the same thing happens when you find people that go out and just try to go find a home on their own and maybe get some lawyer documents and sign their own purchase agreement. I mean, there are a number of things that can go wrong. I actually just had a listing that I'm not yet ready to talk about that I will be picking up here in Lakeville, near Dodd, that the individual 5 years ago bought it with that same mentality. Oh, I'll just go in there. I don't need an agent. I'll make an offer directly. Never found out what fair market value was. Probably overpaid by 2 to 3%. Didn't do an inspection. Didn't even know inspection existed because she was on her own. The roof now leaks and is sending mold into her master bathroom. So there's things that she'll have to take care of before she can even get the money back, not knowing up front all the pitfalls and the hurdles that she fell into. So again, on the buy side, it's the simplest value equation ever. We don't get paid until we perform and actually get you your house and you get the keys. And most of us are willing to work completely at zero cost to you. We don't even charge for the gas as long as you're a reasonable individual.
And you'll probably get free lunch or free coffee.
Yeah, I
at
mean,
Caribou.
you show up enough times, you're going to get at least a beverage. So,
Well, and then the sellers pay the buyer's agent's commission.
And that's it.
And people
And that's
don't
it,
realize
exactly.
that. The sellers do. So the buyers, really, you're getting a true value statement for really nothing.
yeah, it's full service with zero cost up front. I don't even know a lawyer who would sit down and do that much work for you without a retainer or something.
And
So
if you
it's-
did, you probably wouldn't hire them.
Yeah, that's usually the case.
And realistically, this is what we do full time as our jobs. So
Correct.
if you're
So
someone
like-
else who works your regular 40 to 50 hour a week job and you're searching houses during your lunch break and at home, that's taken away from time that you have
Right.
some value in, where we could be working for you the entire time. That's a lot of time saved for you. And ultimately, as you're saying, Chris, a lot of money by signing a 2-page inspection contingency addendum that gives you 5 business days to back out if you don't like the
Minimally.
the mold.
Minimum, yeah.
So yeah, this from a value standpoint and saving you so much time. Obviously, we're prejudiced in this because we represent buyers,
Incredibly,
but realistically, when you just do math and figure out how much time in the day you have and the money, you really want to be represented.
And we've got a plethora of resources too. We have inspectors, we have carpet repairmen, we've got everything you possibly can need, just at a quick email. So again, it's just like it's a full service. We'll take care of you.
Yeah, and it's actually something that we do frequently versus, and people say, well, I bought a house before, or my dad bought a house, he can come through. Well, that's fine. And no offense to your father, but I think that this month I've sold more houses than he ever has in his lifetime, right? So,
Yeah.
This
honesty.
This is a once, twice, maybe 3-time value proposition for your entire existence.
right.
I've sold 7 in this month alone. Like that's how it works. Is that
So
this
you know
is
what you're doing.
this is something we do all the time,
Right.
versus making such a hugely important decision that they have little to no daily experience with.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. So, real quick, just throw out those addresses again that you're looking
absolutely, I've got 2172 Water Lily Lane in Egan, 6509 Sherwood Avenue in Edina. And there will be, probably by next week, I do have one Camfield Court in Rosemount.
to get on.
So we have those
How can
worked
people
out.
get a hold of you?
Easy. You can text or call 952-412-0643. The easiest way, though, is just go to imperialhometeam.com. You can find us. You can find us on Twitter.
Oh yeah, Twitter, what else?
Whatever works for you.
All right, no arguing. We only have 30 seconds.
Okay.
Chris Mosier, Remax Advantage Plus. We appreciate you joining us.
Absolutely.
All right, David, you've got about 10 seconds to say whatever it is you got to say.
ImperialHomeTeam.tv is our YouTube channel. Go check us out at TwinCitiesRealEstatePros.com for all the blog topics and everything, all the links.
All right, so that's another edition of Twin Cities Real Estate Pros, the podcast. You can check us out online, either with the podcast on our website, twincitiesrealestatepros.com, or on our YouTube channel, imperialhometeam.tv. We're back next time. We appreciate you joining us. Thank you.